All right, here we go. Traplo Ross, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Feels good to be back, man. Back in here with Vlad TV. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, last time we saw each other, it was a legendary meetup. It was like some of the kings of independent hip-hop media. It was me, you, Akademiks, Adam22, Remo, and Wack100. And I was sitting next to you, and you were kind of across from Wack, and things started getting kind of interesting along the way.
Yeah,
you actually made a video about it, about getting pressed by Wack during that interview. I watched it this morning.
I did. That was just the beginning, man. But yeah, there was a lot going on with that. You know, just to recap so that people know the story, if they're just catching up with this now. You know, look, I'm sure most people are familiar with the Big U RICO, the giant case against the alleged leader of the Rollin 60s, Big U. A big criminal complaint dropped, you know, a couple weeks before, maybe a week or so before that interview. And, you know, I maybe made a little bit of a mistake. I maybe put my foot in it. I was reading the indictment, literally the moment it dropped, live messaging all of my friends, just saying, can you believe what's in this indictment? This is crazy. Messaging Remos, messaging Adam, messaging all different people that are interested and invested in this LA street politics thing. And I made a little bit of a mistake. I sent Adam just a screenshot of the section from the criminal complaint regarding Wack100 having a little encounter at the Novo with some Rollin 60s and Big U allegedly and some other people. And you know, Adam, I didn't realize this. Adam's a real firecracker out here in these streets. He decided he went straight in to a No Jumper News live session where Wack100 was live on the phone. And this is probably minutes after the criminal complaint dropped. So Wack was unaware of the information contained within this. And Adam put a little bit of extra sauce on what I'd sent him. I just sent him a screenshot saying, how crazy is this? And he went in there and he said, Wack, what's this Traplo Ross said about you was begging for your life when Big U pulled up on you? And Wack obviously was a little bit shell-shocked. He was completely unaware of this paperwork. So the first he's hearing of it is Traplo Ross told me and begging for your life. So Adam kind of put me in the firing line without realizing it a little bit there. And so I knew immediately I was going to be in some trouble next time I ran into Wack.
Right. Wack was a little aggressive during the interview.
Yep.
I watched it happen. You know, I was gonna, you know, I felt like if it started to get out of hand, I would have stepped in and tried to, you know, de-escalate things. But it seemed like it was still relatively civil. It was kind of funny because you mentioned that how you'd have security and I had security, so you wanted to like sublease my security at that moment.
100%. Your security was looking on point, man. Because sometimes I'll be having security, but then other times it's not really necessary. I'm with my peoples or I'm with people that, you know, I know pretty well. And, you know, that whole interview setup was a little bit last minute. We didn't really know it was going to happen. But your security was, I was wishing your security was my security at that point, for sure. So, and your security looked very, very on point, man. So I got to give a salute to your team. But, you know, we did kind of diffuse the situation. Akademiks walked in at the perfect moment to kind of defuse things a little bit for me. So I was very lucky. But, yeah, we had a bit of a tense back and forth. I think Wack wasn't really happy with the way that information was presented. I think it was really unlucky, just the way that it played out, where I'd sent Adam this info and then he'd kind of put it on Wack and put his own spin on it. And that was it was so unlucky for me for the very first that Wack was hearing that he was in this indictment was Traplo Ross said. Yeah. And his initial reaction was, no, that's AI. That's not true. So, you know what I'm saying? It definitely wasn't AI. But yeah, so that's where this whole thing started. But as you know, the escalation continued from there.
All right. You made a video. Was it about the whole Big U situation?
Yeah, I made a video about the whole Big U situation. And, you know, when this happened, I kind of was like, I think for me, like for what I do, you know, I investigate like really important hip hop, crime, gangster, street stories that like really impact the hip hop culture. And as soon as that dropped, you know, everybody in my team, everybody that I'm friends with, they just knew. They were like, this is one of the craziest stories we'd unseen in these hip hop gangster rap streets for a while. And this is something you got to deep dive into. So I really dug deep into it. I put together a just under 3-hour kind of breakdown of the whole situation from Big U's history in the streets, you know, his alleged role in a couple of murders that ultimately didn't end up, you know, he didn't end up getting prosecuted for, you know, attempted murder during a robbery of a police officer that he did end up doing, you know, getting sentenced to a couple of decades for, and then coming out and reforming himself as a community leader, but then allegedly, according to this criminal complaint, him still having involvement in, alleged extortion, alleged murders, embezzlement. It was described as he described it, a real-life, modern-day mafia story. So this was the exact kind of thing that I would cover. I dug deep into it, and Wack100, unfortunately, is been tangled up in this situation for many years. He was very friendly with Big U for many years, and then the relationship soured. And I definitely wouldn't say that Wack is responsible for Big U going down, but Wack definitely was somebody that had a lot to say about Big U's downfall. He inserted himself in it, and then come to find out through the criminal complaint, things had gotten really real behind the scenes. So I covered the story, and I made a little bit of a silly comment in the video that I didn't think much of, but really upset Wack100, and we ended up having a very intense back and forth, which I can probably now go into a bit more detail on, but at the time...
What was the comment that you made in that video?
We'll start here. Let's start here. The comment I made in the video, and I was just trying to be funny and have a, okay, so there's a part of the video where we're talking about what happened with that situation where Adam said Wack was begging for his life. I never said that. But there was an encounter at the Novo where the game was playing a concert, and I basically did a breakdown of what happened. It's in the indictment where Wack allegedly, according to Big U, on a wiretapped conversation, has his blower on him, a gun, and is basically facing off with like 15 to 20 Rollin 60s members who are chasing Wack into the parking lot. And, allegedly he's saying, I got my kids in the car, I got my wife and kids in the car, I got my gun on me, don't do this. Draws, which is Big U's nickname. I basically dug really deep into this. I found the footage of the actual concert in the Novo where you can see Wack kind of getting attacked off stage. You can see Wack come onto the stage with Kanye and kind of hide in the corner of the stage. He sort of ducks behind a speaker, and then he takes Kanye and kind of walks through the front of the crowd, and then you see all these Crips kind of come around the speaker looking for him, and he's gone. He's nowhere to be seen, and then he gets caught in the parking lot. And I even unearthed footage of this actual confrontation taking place, which is in the video where Wack is at his car. You can't see a blower, but you can definitely see him, and it's Rollin 60s members actually filming this confrontation happening in the video. So that happened back in, I believe it was 2022. When it happened, it was big news. It's funny because a lot of people forgot about that, and it's almost like I brought it back up in my documentary and people were acting like, oh my God, this is like this new thing we're just finding out about. But then when I went back and looked into it, I found that actually at the time when Wack had been pressed and it had been filmed and there were 60s in the parking lot, even after the altercation, claiming it, saying, yeah, we just ran Wack out of here. The Rollin 60s were on stage with Corrupt, Crip walking on the stage with Game, and Wack had been run out of the venue, according to them. So at the time when it happened, Akademiks had actually done a whole reaction to it. And again, this is kind of like forgotten footage at this stage, but Akademiks had done a whole breakdown of the situation as it happened. It didn't get a bunch of publicity at the time because it wasn't a huge story like it is now when it's attached to this whole RICO with murders and extortion attached to it. So I just, as like trying to be funny, I guess, to be completely honest with you, I said in my documentary, I was like, look, here's the footage of it happening, and before Wack gets mad and tries to extort me again, here's Akademiks talking about the same thing. Maybe extort was the wrong word to use, but like what I was trying to do is basically say like, before Wack gets mad at me for talking about this topic and pressures me again, and we'll get to why I said that in a second, I said, like, here's Akademiks talking about the same thing. So don't say that, don't press me like I'm the only person talking about this when Akademiks is also publicly talking about this when it happened in 2022. Now, Wack was very upset about me saying that. We ended up having a very tense argument on the phone. And the topic of the argument is, why would you say I tried to extort you? And I explained to him why I thought, based on what he had said to me in a previous message, that he was trying to extort me. You have more to say on this topic, so we'll go step by step to explain piece by piece what happened. But there's some crazy stuff in there.